Good morning. This is Monty once again from DPL Surveillance Equipment. Back at it again as usual, doing my morning chores, contemplating and considering what things are important. Prepare, eat more, make better decisions, and that way you have some context in terms of why you're making certain types of decisions. If you keep yourself informed as far as what's going on. When you make these decisions for your family, for your business, you have some context and you can hopefully make smarter decisions. Now, you may ask yourself, who am I and what am I all about? Well, first of all, my name is Monty Henry, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. We're a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products, 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We have the largest inventory of items that not only can you buy, but you can rent and lay away as well. And we have a humongous video library. That's a demonstration video library. And we have tons and tons of articles and podcasts like these, in addition to blogs and just various articles that you can read and educate yourself on surveillance, counter-surveillance, health, fitness, economics, and finance. What else? Cybersecurity, you name it. We're blogging about it. We're writing about it. We're talking about it in some form or fashion. Okay? And, before I forget, also, we're going to be phasing out the use of credit cards. No more MasterCard and Visa, American Express. Eventually, we're going to completely phase that out, and we'll do cash-like transactions like Bitcoin, cashier's checks, money orders, things that can't be reversed and disputed, and all of that. We spent way too much time with customers who have ulterior motives in terms of buying things that they can't afford, getting buyer's remorse. The husband talks the wife out of keeping a product, or vice versa. Just too much of a headache. We got to the point where we just don't need the headaches any longer. So we'll have transactions that are like cash, cashier checks, money orders, Bitcoin, for instance, wire transfers. And if there's a problem with a transaction, like they did in the old days, you talk to the person who sold it to you directly. You talk to that person and you work it out. You don't necessarily go to some intermediary who's going to build into the transaction all sorts of overhead, all sorts of bureaucracy, all sorts of additional costs. You have to be the most stupid person on the planet to think that that doesn't raise the cost for everyone, including the customers. Not only the merchants and the retailers, but the customers. Everyone gets to pay more and more money for that additional bureaucracy. So unless you're completely retarded, we don't need that any longer. We don't need a big brother. We need to pull our own pants up and figure out how to do what we did in the old days. That's you go to your local merchant, you go to your retailer or whoever sold you the product, and you talk to that person and you figure it out. Lastly, we redesigned the website. The website has completely been redesigned, revamped. I think it looks good. I think it works fast. And I'm adding lots of new products. We have some used products for those who want to save money. The used products are simply the products that were rented out previously. When you rent a product out from us, we use your credit card. We were using your credit cards when we were using them as collateral. And when you give us a credit card for collateral, customers typically take care of the products. They don't want to lose that collateral. So they typically take care of the products. And that way, when the products come back, they're usually in very good shape. Because, again, no one wants to lose their credit card collateral. So they take care of the products. But we can't sell them as new, even though you may have only had a rental for like a few days or so. We don't want to sell it as new, so we classify it as used. And you can get the benefit of having a product that's pretty much like new, but it's discounted steeply, so that you get a chance to save money. And we give you a limited warranty. It's not the lifetime guarantee and warranty associated with the new products, but it definitely has a warranty. But it is, again, pretty much a new product that you're buying. Other than that, let's move on into the conversation finally. Now, the title of this podcast, let's see, what is the title to the podcast for today? The title for today is 401k or ATM, automatic retirement savings prove easy to pluck prematurely. Okay, again, 401k or ATM, automatic retirement savings prove easy to pluck prematurely. Okay, so basically what's happening, and I'll get into the details, basically what's happening is employers are now offering automatic enrollment for a large population of the employees that are working for the firms nowadays. Now, once upon a time, if you wanted to participate in the 401k, you went to the employer or you went to the human resources and you signed up voluntarily, and you understood how important it was to have that savings account, and you went to the employer and you requested or demanded that they sign you up, and the employer was glad to have you as part of the family of people who understood how important retirement and savings was. So they signed you up, and a lot of employers were actually matching additional contributions, making additional contributions to that retirement plan after vesting period, whereby you actually put in a certain amount of time, and with the company, then you get vesting, which means that basically now you get that additional contribution from the employer, and all of that. So you got tremendous perks, a lot of incentive for participating in that 401k. Now, what's happening nowadays is a lot of people, for some stupid reason, are not appreciating what it means to have a 401k plan and to have a retirement account that's supposed to be off limits for borrowing from. In other words, a lot of employees, they think that the 401k is basically an ATM machine. Whenever they have the slightest financial issue going on in their lives, the first thing they do is they run to the 401k. Now, I'm a little bit older than a lot of you guys, but I remember when I had my first 401k offer from the Bell system, formerly known as AT&T. For me at least, it was stupid to think that I should dip into this 401k for any reason. In other words, my main concern was, how can I build up this retirement account as soon as possible? Because if I remember correctly, AT&T and those guys were making significant contributions to my 401k, and we were trying to take advantage of this, getting the appreciation from the stock and the different things that the 401k was investing in. We wanted to make sure that if that stock went up, that we were benefiting to the maximum extent that possible. And again, because they were matching significantly what we put in, a lot of us found out that our counterparts were doing quite well with the retirement accounts. Even younger people were doing quite well with the vesting and the contributions and the appreciation of the stock and such. So we made sure that if anything, we build up as much as possible. And see, I also found out that there was a vehicle, an investment vehicle called DRIPs, or dividend reinvestment plans. I went out on my own, did my own research, and I figured, if I could invest in AT&T and all the companies of the Bill operating system through AT&T and their retirement plans, why can't I also choose additional companies and invest in those companies? So I did my own independent research, and I found out that there was something called DRIPs, or dividend reinvestment plans. And all I had to do was buy one share of stock in whatever companies that had a DRIP, and then they would enroll me in that DRIP plan, and then I can make small contributions each week or month or something and accumulate additional shares in those plans. And they would contribute or purchase additional shares by way of the dividends and such, compounding quarter after quarter after quarter. So between my contributions and the dividends being reinvested and all that, I got a chance to accumulate a lot of stock in different companies over the years when I was younger. And that really got me off to a good start. But I had the incentive, I had the motivation, I had the understanding that this was the right thing to do. Getting back to the article, it's talking a lot about the pitiful savings rate, which is 3% for most workers in the United States, and how employers are really, excuse the noise I'm playing in my car, the employers are really trying to do everything they can to try to figure out how to boost that savings rate. Because, again, employees getting a 401k and dipping into the 401ks prematurely. And see, also, when you leave an employer, you get a check. If it's a smaller amount, you automatically get a check for the smaller amount. Otherwise, you have to fill out paperwork to transfer that account, that 401k, to another employer's account, like an IRA or something. And see, a lot of employees are being very stupid about, this is not the opportunity to cash out. This is not the opportunity to second guess yourself in terms of whether or not you should keep that retirement vehicle going or not. This is basically a requirement to get that money from point A to point B. You don't go shopping. You don't start thinking about big screen TVs. You don't start thinking about a new truck or something. You basically fill out that application as soon as possible, get that money from point A to point B into a new retirement account. And see, now employers are trying to figure out, because having automatic enrollment, which is basically a relatively new concept, they're able to keep more people in the plan and get more people to contribute to the plan because of automatic enrollment in 401ks as compared to voluntary participation, where you go to the human resources and you ask them to put you in the plan. So again, it looks like a lot of people are just not taking advantage of staying in these plans, not borrowing money out of the plans, and what ultimately is going on here. See, when you are participating in these retirement vehicles like a 401k, you're investing alongside the employer. In other words, that money is pooled together so that the company overall can have more money to work with, but everybody is contributing, everybody is benefiting. The larger that pool of money is, for corporate America, for instance, the more you get a chance to participate. So it's basically like a loan or something, almost, whereby you loan the company money for like 20, 30 years or whatever amount of time before you cash out your retirement. But as long as that money is managed well and you keep your eye on it, then you're going to do fine. But if you take it and spend it because, the Super Bowl is coming and you want a big screen TV, or the neighbor's are buying a new car, buying new furniture, doing improvements on their home, or somebody's buying new watches and high expensive sneakers, and you don't want to be left out, right? So you go to your retirement money and you start cashing out. Well, basically, they made a fool out of you because you're obviously not considering your own financial well-being, and that's the mistake a lot of people are making. They're looking at these short-term situations where you're compromising your long-term future viability. One thing in the article that they're talking about is going to Congress and see if Congress can pass a law, some legislation requiring that employers automatically enroll you into a emergency savings account alongside your 401k, so that people won't be tempted to get the money out of the 401k, but maybe they can go into the emergency savings account, which is kind of stupid because when you think about it, if Congress has to pass these bills to do things that are basically common sense for you guys, then that obviously tells me that you don't even understand the basics of personal finance. So I suggest you guys go to your local community colleges as soon as possible and enroll in a personal finance course that talks about what are credit cards, how to manage them, what are basic retirement savings accounts and investing accounts, what are the difference between saving and investing, what is compounding. These are some of the basics and some of the fundamentals that I think a lot of you guys really need to review. Now, if you don't have time to go to school, go to the library, run to Google as soon as possible and try to figure out what is going on with, again, investing versus savings, credit card management, what does compounding mean, what effect does that have on your investment and your savings. Just to give you an idea of what I did, I just don't talk about these things academically and throw out things that I read about or something. I actually use these principles. 25 years ago, I had a 401k, and I was working for someone else. I took it and I had built it up as much as possible with the employer to get the maximum contributions from the employer. And then when I left the company, I think it was AT&T, I rolled it over to the next employer, whatever. Eventually, I think it became an IRA. I basically rolled it over into my own self-directed IRA. So I got a chance to manage the investments inside of the IRA. And I let Fidelity Investments, this very large investment house or brokerage company, I let them manage the monies, and I just made sure that I was getting the type of returns or whatever that I needed to get. So Fidelity took care of that part, and I contributed again as much as I could from my business. When business was booming, I put in more money. When business was booming as much, I put in less money. But I made sure that those accounts were stuffed with as much money as I could. My problem was sometimes investing more money above and beyond the maximums as compared to the minimums. So that was my problem. But that's a different problem, okay, to have. But anyway, my 401ks became IRAs. IRAs eventually diversified into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. When I took some money from the IRA, put it into Bitcoin, and excuse the noise, I guess the noise is going to get louder and louder, of course. But I took some of the money from the IRA, put it into Bitcoin, and boosted that up significantly. And but I've been running the business for a long, long time, and I basically um, have been independent for a long time. But if it wasn't for the savings, it wasn't for the investing, I wouldn't be doing as good as I am now. So again, when you have savings, when you have investments, you should have less stress in your life. So just realize when you build up that IRA account and you diversify enough, because you're making sacrifices, you're making compromises, right? When you put your money into these investment vehicles. So over the short term, you make some compromises, make some sacrifices, but over the long term, that's where you benefit because you don't have to worry so much about the ups and downs of the economy and all these other things. When you have a financial emergency or something happens in your life, you don't have to, you don't end up doing as bad as the other guy. So anyway, I grew my IRA substantially with Bitcoin, but my whole philosophy has always been don't get caught up in consumerism. Get caught up in being a producer. Get caught up in and investing alongside Verizon, alongside Microsoft, alongside Intel, McDonald's. Those guys have thriving businesses. If you buy a burger and you like it, if you buy a Verizon phone, Apple phone, or Verizon wireless service and you like it, obviously there's millions and tens of millions of other people just like you who like the product, like the service. And if you're spending money on that, retail money on that, on those services, guess what? It's probably a good service, and you're probably making a wise decision as far as investing in the companies. So make sure you guys understand how capitalism works. Industry needs capital to grow, and if you grow money alongside those corporations because you're loaning money to Intel and Microsoft and Apple and all of those companies, then guess what? You're going to do quite well because they're doing quite well. Microsoft is not going anywhere. Verizon is not going anywhere anytime soon. Apple is not going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, their profits, their riches are going to magnify and grow exponentially over the years. Okay? So you might as well participate. So get out of the stores and stop being a consumer so much and get into capitalism. Realize where the wealth is. Okay? And I can tell you from personal experience that I can tell when people are doing well, when they're doing and not doing well. When I first started my business 25 years ago, I talked to people who had lots of discretionary income. They could buy multiple products from me, expensive products from me, and not worry so much about the budgets. But because of people mismanage their finances and the economy has gone through some major upheavals. Now the phone calls are pretty pathetic. People don't have the money. They don't have the discretionary income. The middle class has been wiped out. So you don't want to take for granted that you need to be prepared. Because, when the economy slows down and things start getting bad, the people who are going to have less to worry about are going to be the people who saved and invested and build up those 401ks, build up those IRAs, and then you have choices. You can go and buy distressed property. You can go and buy some bankrupt store. You can go and buy whatever it is, a brand new truck or the dealership that sells the trucks or something. I can do a lot more with the money that I saved and invested. I don't need to settle for buying a used car. I can buy a new car. Instead of just buying a new car, I can buy a dealership or something. So your choices, they grow and they expand the more you participate. So anyway, getting back to the 401ks, people need to change their savings and spending habits. Let's see. Thanks to auto enrollment, we have figured out how to get money into the retirement savings system, said Bridget Madrian, a co-author of the new study and an economist at Harvard University. Now we need to think about how to keep that money in the system. So again, the companies benefit significantly when they instituted or initiated auto enrollment for the 401ks. Now they need to figure out how to keep that money in the system and keep you guys participating in the 401ks to your own benefit. This is not something where you just basically where you're not going to benefit from. You're going to benefit significantly, but you got to let the money build up and compound and accumulate and appreciate. So when you do cash out, you'll have something to show for it. And if you need to transfer from company to company, don't cash out your check. Roll it over from a 401k into an IRA or whatever tax-deferred vehicle. What else? And oh yeah, if you borrow money from your 401k, which is the most stupid idea imaginable, realize that you're joining the company of a lot of losers. With more money in the plan, Professor Madrian said, auto-enrolled employees are more likely to borrow from their 401 accounts over time than workers who are required to sign up for the plan on their own. While most 401k borrowers repay themselves with interest, about 10% default on about $5 billion a year, according to Olivia Mitchell, an economist at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. So it looks like, people who have been auto-enrolled in these plans, they're taking it for granted that, you still have to treat this plan as an important part of your retirement vehicle, long-term financial wellness. And speaking of financial wellness, if your company is offering financial wellness courses, this course is basically teaching you about saving, investing, and all that. Take the course as soon as possible. But basically, this paragraph is talking about how auto-enrolled employees are somehow not appreciating what they have, okay, as compared to people who voluntarily signed up for these 401k plans. Look, just because you were auto-enrolled, it doesn't mean you get a pass or something whereby you can do anything you want to do with the money. You're still going to end up broke at the end of the day if you don't take advantage and leave that money and let it build up and let it accumulate. Borrowing from yourself with interest and all that is stupid. Get an emergency savings plan. Put the money into the emergency savings plan. Let the retirement vehicles add up to something substantial. When I first started investing in stocks, I had 1 or 2 shares in certain companies, McDonald's, Intel, Microsoft, whatever. The 1 or 2 shares became 3 or 4, then that became 10 or 12, then that became 100 or 1,000, and it just kept growing and growing. But don't be deceived by the smaller balances. Smaller balances become larger balances over time. Anyway, I'm going to put the details of this information in an article alongside the podcast, so you guys can see for yourself that 401ks, whether that you got into it voluntarily or auto-enrolled, you need to appreciate it. You need to put money into it and keep the money there, and if anything, add to it. Okay, if you have to postpone getting that new car, postpone getting the expensive big screen TVs or whatever, and that's what you got to do. Besides, it's getting noisy over here. So, as I always like to say at the conclusion of every podcast, you guys keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and be safe out there. And we'll talk later, okay? Take care, bye.